Usirian is the Nahakaran god of the dead, and when the mortuary cult first came into being, his worship surpassed even that of the mighty Petra. Sprawling temples were erected in his name throughout Settra's vast kingdom, and still, many thousands of years later, they stand in reminder, entombed beneath the sands, that the sun will never set on the empire of the Tomb Kings. But the sun never shines this far beneath the earth, and the problem with building underground is that Skaven, Greenskins, and darker things make a habit of tunneling into your backyard. So Settra and his war kitty need to take out the trash. Here, at a long-lost monument to the underworld, we're playing one of the new maps highlighted in our video yesterday, created by Waka Waka 3000, and again, even though these are currently domination maps, injected into a game mode that desperately needs them, this is but a taste of what we should expect to see on the Mod Workshop over the coming weeks and months. Content that should improve sieges, land battles, and campaign experience as well. Settra is the Lord today, Blessed Blade of Petra, Jaff's incantation and Nira's protection, mounted on his Liger Zero Cimmerian War Sphinx, backed up by Ushabti Great Bows, bunch of Tomb Guard, and the Eyes in the Desert Sepulchral Stalkers. Pretty elite starting army, anchored by the Kepler Guard, who have been fixed and are no longer treated like an ethereal unit, which I do believe was a bug. And speaking of bugs, there is one significant battle problem for Undead currently, and that is any sources of healing on units that crumble, like Realm of Souls, will essentially grant unlimited ammo. So you can have Queen Bess or Casket of Souls fire in perpetuity, if you can keep them online. Not going to be abused this battle, but just something to be aware of. On the other side of this very interesting map comes Wurrzag and the Greenskins, probably the best lord in their arsenal. He has Foot of Gork, Brainburster, Edbutt, Here We Go, and Effigy of Dagit. Sets up a lot of his magic by pinning down and netting a single target. And he's supported by the AP Cloonies, Stone Trolls, Big Guns, and some Error Boys shooting in from behind. So expect to see a lot of monstrous infantry this game. Stone Trolls are a fantastic unit against Tomb Kings. Great option for killing constructs and stuffing them up with mass. And Ushabti have also found new life in Domination. They can quickly contest points and chop through hordes of infantry. Jaff's incantation of Cursed Blades on Settra and the War Kitty going after the AP Cloonies and zoning them out, but he doesn't want to overextend. Wurrzag is right there, and an Effigy of Dagit could have set up some focus fire from the Error Boys, so Settra will perhaps wisely decide to retreat. Probably could have gotten a charge in there, opted to be a bit more conservative. This is going to be a long battle. He needs to keep that HP up for the truly important engagements. Now, Stone Trolls have 25% missile resistance, so they don't really give a shit when Ushabti Great Bows are firing into them. They'll actually be able to out-regen most of the damage incoming, so maybe shooting the Stone Trolls isn't the right call. Going after the Big Guns is probably a better idea, because at least you can eliminate models. Now, the Tomb Guard were chasing after the AP Cloonies and overextended. Just a micro mistake there, but it's actually going to work out pretty well here because it's going to force a blob in these choke points, and this is one thing you have to be very cognizant of, especially if you're going for a pure melee rush. Nice brain burster behind the line of those Tomb Guard, but it'll set up a Sekhmet's incantation of the Skull Storm and just rip through a whole section of the Greenskins army. You can see Settra's kill count moving up on the left side of your screen there, up to 76, 82, and finally coming to a rest at 87 kills. Not bad at all. Lot of damage sent the Greenskins' way, and now the Cimmerian War Sphinx can charge into the thick of it and start ripping up those 8-peak loonies, who are unbreakable, and their dwarfs on a chain will be quite impactful against the low armor of the Tomb Kings. I think Tomb Guard did get an armor buff in Immortal Empires, but they're still not particularly tanky. And Goblin Fanatics can punish low armor pretty hard. But you know what also punishes Gobos? The Cimmerian War Sphinx, man, has one of the most impressive charges in the entire trilogy. And he should have a field day here. If he can stay away from the Stone Trolls and prevent himself from being entirely surrounded, he should be able to gorge himself on really all the chicken and liver his heart desires. Turn those mushrooms into Meow Mix. First Fanatic Toss has been unleashed. Poor Dawi on chains used his bludgeoning instruments to crack bone. Big Guns are wisely skirting past the Tomb Guard and attempting to blind those eyes in the desert, who will look to slither away, while Ushabti reinforcements make their way over from the reinforcement points. Blundered Tomb Guard that totally intentionally sacrificed their lives for the cool vortex have paid the ultimate price. Both players have their natural. Tomb Kings have taken the contested point number 3 down below, and Screaming Skull catapults have been summoned now. Really good choice here. Should be easy to defend. Lots of low leadership infantry on the other side. They can punish pretty well from the safety of their spawn. And Big Guns just straight up destroyed by the Cimmerian War Sphinx and Ushabti combo. Remember, those monstrous infantry do have bonus versus infantry, so they're pretty great for chopping their way through hordes of mid and low tier fodder, especially with those big ass Kopeshes. So Settra looking quite healthy right now. Could look to dive into the air boys to try to silence them, but there are stone trolls moving in, so perhaps that would be a dangerous proposition. Crimson Killers moving in on the Greenskins' right flank and might be able to get a rear charge into the Kepler Guard, who are currently indisposed, tied down by some big guns. Effigy of the Git pinning Settra in place and preventing him from charging into the flank of these Crimson Killers. And now with Wa activated and those Black Orcs, the Regiment of Renown with essentially 70 plus melee attack and all that wave clear, it's going to be bad for Kepler Guard. Nero's Incantation of Protection for the 40% physical resist should help quite a bit, and Jaff's Incantation of Cursed Blades will allow them to hit back. And now that the Crimson Killers have engaged Settra, actually they're doing okay here. With the Realm of Souls level 2 activated, combined with their innate regen, I expected the Kepler Guard to just melt in that fight, but they're holding on quite well. Screaming Skull already routing off some of the units in the back of the map. Ushabti charging up the center, and they should have a clean one straight into the air boys and should chop their way through them quite quickly, I would imagine. And this is kind of a difficult situation for archers in general. Even though the Tomb Kings don't have a lot of armor, Tomb Guard have enough to resist their shots pretty well, and more importantly, they have Silver Missile Block Chance, which is enough to make shooting them from the front not really viable. And of course, the Constructs do have a lot of armor, so focus fire from 2 air boys on someone like Settra wouldn't actually do that much, considering his 120 armor value. Now, the Ushabti are carving through the Gabos, air boys, and orc boys in the center quite well, unleashing their dance of death. Quite a bit more stylish than the stone trolls, who are a bit more blunt force, bit more Neanderthalic, I guess is a better way to put it. They've got those big-ass rocks tied to a big-ass club, and they'll beat you down. Kepler Guard are feeling the effects of that, and that AoE go. Plus 40 melee attack in an AoE. Greenskins are going to break that wide open, and even with Realm of Souls activated for the 3rd time, and with the regen stacked up on top, percentage-based healing will not be enough to keep the Kepler Guard alive for too much longer. Even Settra had to retreat under the threat of those stone trolls. And there are some Orc Boy big guns over on point number 3 now. It looks like the Greenskins are attempting to contest that. Ushabti have carved the heart out of the Greenskins' Wa and are maybe looking to push on towards the Greenskins' natural, but looks like the Greenskins are making a lot of headway over here. Sepulchral Stalkers are firing in to support, but again, that 25% missile resist is going to help a lot. It's going to make it very difficult to shoot them down. And there's really nothing over on this side that can deal with the Stone Troll and Crimson Killer combo. So Ushabti will fire in to try and provide a little bit of support. Realistically, they'd probably be about half ammo now, so we'll keep an eye on that and see if the Tomb Kingers are abusing anything. But yeah, they should not have full ammo right now. That is a bug tied to Realm of Souls and any healing on undead ranged units. Eyes in the Desert are also benefiting from that, but at 900 damage value so far, they really haven't been doing a massive amount of shooting this game. Realistically, they would probably be around half ammunition as well. They had to retreat from the big guns, and now they're fighting Stone Trolls, which isn't the worst, especially backed up by Skeleton Spearmen. But if the Crimson Killers can get rid of the chaff fodder, well, then the Stalkers will probably die pretty quick to that combination and all that armor piercing, which is why an Ushabti summon will come in from behind to clear out that infantry and give a little bit more space for the Stalkers to retreat to a safe location. Stone Trolls immediately routed. That is the one issue that Stone Trolls have. Incredible unit, but they are trolls, and trolls have bad leadership. Morale shocks can be a pretty big factor against them, and it's hurting them there. So they'll get some regen as they retreat. Over here, Ushabti fighting the Orc Boarboy big guns, and a bunch of skirmish cavalry coming in. Mogreb's Mangy Marauders and the Deaf Creepers. There is some AP amongst those Wolf Riders, and shooting in from behind could turn that fight pretty heavily in the Greenskins' favor. Boarboy Big Guns fighting Ushabti, that's a fight they would like to take. They have no problem with that whatsoever. Big Guns moving up in the center. Stalkers firing in on the Headbutt. Not a spell you see very often. Surprised the Greenskins actually took it this game. Ushabti will likely crumble out soon. Summons do not last very long. Ushabti Grapos are actually still online as well, getting a few pot shots in. Stone Trolls did compromise them for a bit, but again, that low leadership made it difficult for them to stick in the fight. And Settra is now going to rally around 2 units of Ushabti, the Monstrous Infantry variant, and they're going to look to push towards point number 2, but An Arachnarok Spider has come out of the woodwork, and the Stalkers are gonna die here, 100%. They have no chance of escaping. The Squig Herd leading the charge there. Liger Zero bouncing past the Arachnid and into the midst of these air boys, dropping a Wrath of Patra, exploding them with blinding lights and the fury of the sun. I think the Arachnarok Spider play here is not a bad one. The Tomb Kings are relying pretty heavily on constructs right now. They have summoned some Nahakar warriors and Tomb Guard. Infantry will, of course, always be a factor here, but dealing with that Khemerian War Sphinx will require some heavy hitters, and Arachnarok Spider might offer that, as the Ushabti are crumbling out to the skirmish fire, point blank range. Squig Herd bouncing out. Another really good unit for the price, only 350 gold, I believe. You'll be seeing a lot of them with Greenskins in Domination. Now, Settra, on his Khemerian War Sphinx, is not generally great at dueling enemy monsters, especially when they have Here We Go and they're being supported by Wurrzag and all his effective spells. While making that, the Spider has 134 melee attack right now, and he's debuffing Settra, so that's pretty crazy. Nice little combo with the Stone Troll charge and a Brain Bursta on the Tomb Guard, immediately taking them down to like half HP, so well played there. Ushabti Greatbow is silenced by Spleen Rippa and Wurrzag. But the way Settra can deal with monsters is give him Overcast Incantation of Curse Blades. That'll give him plus 16 bonus versus large, and the Blinded Contact effect from the Blessed Blade of Patra debuffs enemy monsters quite well also. I think it's minus 24 melee attack, minus 24 melee defense. So you combine those two together, and suddenly he starts dueling enemy monsters pretty well. So it's kind of a time-limited factor there, but it's certainly one that can make an impact as the Screaming Skull continues to unleash its deadly deluge into the blob on point number 3 down below. Ushabti continuing their advance forward. It's been a bit of a slog, but they've cleared out a bunch of the air boys. More air boys are being chopped to pieces. If those aren't the ones that already routed off earlier, maybe it was. Settra lost all his support. Ushabti realized they couldn't really kill the Spider, and Settra can't either once his bonus versus large has worn off from Jaff's incantation. So he is retreating. Nicely placed Brain Bursta, dealing a little bit of damage to the Tomb Guard, while Settra retreats behind the safety of their ranks. And it looks like a lot of the Greenskins infantry is being straight up decapped here by the flashing Kopeshes of these monstrous infantry, and they're getting very close to the natural of the Greenskins and might start the decapping process. If we look at the score right now, it's 780 for the Tomb Kings and 820 for the Greenskins. Remember that there was a rework in the last several weeks to the scoring system in Domination. It only goes up to 1500 now. I wouldn't be able to tell you all the changes, that the practical application, like what it actually does to battles. I just know that the scoring system is different now and it goes to 1500. So there you have it. Looks like Nahakaran horsemen have surrounded stone trolls that were trying to kill the Screaming Skull catapults. More Squig Herd and Gobos contesting over point number 3. And yes, the Tomb Kings have pushed all the way to the Greenskins natural, and they are massing for a overwhelming assault, which will be needed because they are down by 80. And if the double cap remains for the Orcs and Goblins, then this will be an Orc and Goblin victory. Go figure. Boarboy Big Guns getting a really good engagement against the Ushabti. It is certainly a fight they would like to take. Their bonus for large and armor piercing will be enough to see their piggish mounts rack up all the kills their hearts desire. Ushabti must be feeling like Bobby B out here, gutted by boars. Start the damn joust before I piss myself. And the curse from Settra the Imperishable, and a Sekhmet's incantation of the Skullstorm. That is a brutal combo, and if it had gone in the right direction, it could have just carved apart an entire unit of Savage Orcs, but it will only clip the edge of the unit and then veer off into random directions. Not ideal, but that is the downside of Vortexes and Wave Clear spells. Still, Settra making good account of himself here. Stalkers retreating from the encroaching infantry. Looks like the Screaming Skull catapult will finally be silenced, but the Greenskins still maintain that 2-to-1 capture, and they're starting to pull away. They're up almost 250 points now, and that's a big VP. Am I bad at math? I am bad at math. That's 150, not 250, but that's still important. That's going to be hard to come back from. Tomb Kings need to secure that double cap real soon, or they're going to be in trouble. Now, Stalkers are being chased by the Arachnarok Spider. They don't like that. They don't like getting beat up by Savage Orcs in melee either. So what they're going to do is actually dive into the spawn points of the Greenskins and try to pull that spider away from the objective. Because the Greenskins can't really afford to just let those stalkers fire in. Looks like some infantry Nakar warriors moving out of the reinforcement points are going to be able to secure their own natural. And there's more than enough infantry, I think, to recap point number 3. So there might be a triple cap on the way for the Tomb Kings. But if those stalkers can tie up the Crimson Killers and the Arachnarok for at least a little bit longer, that might allow the Tomb King to secure some more map control and perhaps get themselves back into this game. The Terror is going to be a big factor on this point, especially with the Arachnarok not fighting Settra currently, and they don't have the infantry to take on these Tomb Guard with halberds. So the Boar Boy Big Guns and Wurrzag will be forced off the point. I think it was fine to have the spider chase after them, but I think the Crimson Killers should immediately be moving their way towards the point. They are going now, but they maybe dilly-dallied a few seconds too long there. Still, they're pushing up, and they should be able to rip their way through Tomb Guard quite quickly. So if you're the Tomb Kings, actually, well, there's two things. You could either fight outside the objective, which will, of course, prevent them from contesting the objective until the Tomb Guard are dead, or you could run to the back of the objective and delay the fight that you know you're going to lose, because Tomb Kings are not going to be able to beat all this infantry and cav that's coming in. Crimson Killers are going to slap chop their way through pretty much limitless units of skeletons or Tomb Guard, especially if they're only the halberd variant, which are just not well suited for fighting wave clearing Black Orcs. But back here, Sepulchral Stalkers have crumbled out. Ragnarok Spider has done its job, but now needs to hustle over here to potentially finish off Settra. I'm wondering if Wurrzag himself and Spleen Ripper can maybe take down the beast himself. That would be huge, because once Settra is gone, then it's going to be a lot harder for the Tomb Kings to reinforce on this point and start clearing out infantry, terror-routing them and getting them off the objective. So Nakar warriors chopping their way through those Orc boys right quick. Bonus for infantry of 7 there. Pretty important in that fight. Let them cut their way through super quickly. And now the Savage Orcs taking the brunt of this Ushabti charge. Much to infantry and more Tomb Guard moving their way onto the point. And I think it was the right call to engage those Black Orcs outside of the objective. Give them a lot more time with the double cap. And now looking at the objectives up top, there might be a triple on the way. 1330 to 1170. I don't know. Settra has fallen and he can't get up. His old decrepit ass did so much for the Tomb Kings here, but he is dead. And Wurrzag has been supporting his army tremendously with all those brain burstas, Here We Goes, and Fists of Gork. Shabti continuing to stuff up these Black Orcs and keep at least half of the unit off of the objective. That weird sound bug continuing to strike where if you get close to a Legendary Lord, all sound cuts out. Can't wait for that to be fixed. It's pretty annoying. But the Greenskins are doing everything in their power to get on the objective, and they are there with more infantry streaming in from the other side. And meanwhile, they still want to fight over point number 3. The 8-peak loonies, ready to fight a horde of skeleton warriors and Nehekaran troops streaming out of the reinforcement zones. And with some well-placed dwarfs on a chain, the 8-peak loonies are going to be able to rip through quite a few of those skeletons, and they should be able to smash through that objective, except Ushabti just showed up to the party, and that's going to make things exceptionally difficult. Yeah, they can't really fight skeletons and Nakar warriors and Ushabti, but they are unbreakable, so they can contest that point for at least a little bit longer. They're gonna pay with their lives, though, and they'll do whatever they can. If they can somehow manage to take that, yeah, that's not gonna happen. there's just no way they're gonna be able to capture that point. So what the Greenskins need to do now is secure their own natural while these poor gobos are just being rent and torn asunder. And perhaps one cap will be enough. They had a substantial lead on VPs, so they have a chance to just win on the single cap. Yeah, they're only 100 points away. Meanwhile, the Tomb Kings are 200 points away from victory, so I'm curious how that's going to shape up. They need to capture their natural immediately, though. Nakar and Horsemen, preventing the Death Creepers from squeegeeing in from behind. More infantry and Ushabti pouring out of both reinforcement zones. But the triple cap is making that gap between both armies close extremely quickly. And what was a 100 VP lead is now all the way down to a 20 VP lead. And Tomb Kings are looking like they might be in the ascendancy, except the Greenskins just capped. So now it'll be a 2-to-1 in favor of the undead. Greenskins have swarms, and they're looking pretty strong, at least on their natural. And there's no big scary monster like Settra or his Khemrian Warsphinx to stop them, but do the Greenskins have enough time to contest the Tomb Kings VP? And I think the answer is maybe not. So with the double cap, if the Tomb Kings can hold on, they are going to be able to secure a victory. If the Greenskins are going to do something here, they need to get a Vanguard wing and send a bunch of infantry over to point number 3 immediately. That might be their best bet. 1466 to 1448. This one is achingly close, but Kepler Guard are tying down a huge section of the Greenskins' Wa. And with the Arachnarok Spider looking on in distress, it's looking like it is going to be a Tomb Kings victory on their home turf, but just by the skin of their teeth and their bony chinny chin chins. Crazy game. Settra, 224 kills in that one. Had a couple really nice Skull Storms, which isn't a spell you get to see very often. Was excited to use that one. 2,700 damage value for him. Stalker's got 1,200 damage value. Did pretty well against the Stone Trolls and some of the infantry. Choppy Great Bows, 1,200 damage value for them. Kepler Guard were summoned twice, so it'll be a bit of a misleading stat line for them. Same with the Ushabti, but Ushabti are great in Domination. There is no denying that. They are not, they never really felt amazing in land battles, but they've really found a niche here in this game mode. Screaming Skull was awesome, 108 kills, 1,100 damage value for that. Wurrzag was pretty close to being MVP in this one. Him and the Arachnarok Spider from the Reinforcement Army, yeah, both around 2,500, 2,600 damage value. So I was very impressed with Wurrzag in this battle. His There We Goes, his Brain Burstas, his Effigies of Degit were all used quite well and kept the Greenskins in it for a really long time. And if they were able to secure their natural just a little bit earlier and held on with that single cap, I think they might have won. But the triple cap really swung it in the Tomb King's favor and allowed them to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Hope you guys enjoyed. More of these Domination maps coming very soon.